To all those above me that watch over me, to all of you, my para peeps here on this side of the veil, welcome. This is Reverend Sean Whittington's Paranormal Ministry. I'm your host, Reverend Sean the Rev. Welcome to my haunted home, my very haunted home. How's everybody doing? You all look beautiful. Thank you so much for tuning in. A couple of quick announcements before we get to the reason why you all tuned in, my very special guest today, and I'm so thrilled to have her here. Anything you want to know about me and my wife and our ministry work, you can find out at our website, www.ghost-b-gone.biz, and that is our website and our ministry here in Las Vegas, Nevada. If you do visit the website, remember that my wife and I do not charge for our ministry work, helping people with their paranormal issues. I know times are tough, but if you're there visiting and you like the show and you like what you see at the website and you like what we're trying to do, if you're able to do so and you notice the button, click on the donate button, send in a small donation. I promise you it'll be appreciated from the bottom of our hearts, and we will put it to good use, I assure you. In addition to being an ordained exorcist, I am also a certified spiritual advisor, intuitive coach. And if you're having some issues of a spiritual nature, not necessarily attached to the paranormal, and you'd like to make an appointment to speak with me about these issues, you can make an appointment with me on the page at the website entitled Spiritual Advisor. But if you go to the website, don't leave without clicking on the page that says the WSE course/book. And when you go onto that page, first you'll see the ghost store. There's a lot of cool things there to purchase if you go for that sort of stuff, like that old throwback classic Ghost Be Gone t-shirt back there, and this very popular throwback ghostbegone.biz mug and coffee cup that everybody seems to love. But scroll a little further down, you'll see the Worldwide Society of Exorcists. I am the founding member. And through the WSE, I offer a 12-week online college-level course, Introduction to Spiritual Warfare. If you have ever felt the calling or a hunger for the knowledge to know how to draw your line in the sand, make a stand, push the darkness back and put up a good fight, if, God forbid, malevolence comes a-calling, this is the course for you. It is a college-level course, so all the graduates get a stunning diploma. I'm very jealous I don't get one. But it's a stunning diploma suited for framing. You also get some very special blessed partying gifts from yours truly, the Rev, that you can't get anywhere else. So you can enroll in that class there at the website. And then if you scroll a little further down from that, you'll see my new haunted autobiography, God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry. A true story inspired by spirit and divine intervention. And I quote, the scariest book I ever published. That was Annette Munich, owner of Stellium Books, my publisher. But don't let that scare you from buying a copy. There's a lot of good versus evil in it, where good wins. I like to refer to my autobiography as a very different kind of feel-good story. But here's the best part about it. If you do a good deed today and purchase the book, I think you'll love it. I haven't had anybody knock on my front door and throw it back at me. But part of the proceeds of every sale of every copy of my book goes to support stjude.org and St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, Nevada. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So, like I said, if you haven't done your good deed for the day yet, purchase a copy of the book. You can get an autographed copy enclosed in a beautiful house blessing kit on the website, or you can get it a little less expensive on Amazon. If you've purchased the book already, you're a part of that support group, so God bless you. All right, guys, here we go. I've got a prayer offering real quick for a brother in Christ of ours named Albert. Albert is having some issues. And he says, Rev, I always crank the volume up on my computer at the start of your show when you do an opening prayer, and it tends to calm things down in my home for a little bit. So that's a wonderful thing to hear. During this prayer, guys, for Albert, if you want to add any positive vibes, or if you want to receive some power and vibes, love and light from this prayer, all you got to do is reach forward, touch your computer screen, bow your head, and close your eyes. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Finally, be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we are not contending against flesh and blood, but against the principalities, against the powers, against the world rulers of this present darkness, against the spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. Therefore, take the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Amen. God bless you, Albert. Hang in there. I have a quick request for a candle lighting for Annie. Annie, here is your candle. I will light it. It will stay lit and enjoy the show here with me. After the show, I will take your candle, put it in the room with all the other burning candles, and it will continue to burn until it burns out. But here is your candle. And your special blessing, Annie. Jesus, please intervene in Annie's life and the life of each one of her family members. Fill them with the Holy Spirit for the remainders of their days and beyond. Amen. God bless you, Annie. Thank you for the candle request. I'll be in touch. All right, brothers and sisters, buckle up. You all know her, you all over. World-renowned, critically acclaimed paranormal author, elite parahunter, and her resume goes on and on and on and on. Paranormal authority, a cool person, a great lady, and a friend. Brothers and sisters, please welcome to the show the one and only JONI MAYHAN. JONI, are you there?
I'm here. Wow, what an introduction. I hope I can live up to that. You know, you set the bar pretty high for me.
One, you know it's from the heart. You know I love you. You know I respect you. It's from the heart. But no, I didn't set the bar too high. Everybody, first of all, I'll tell you, both my shows I do, my Friday show here on the Paranormal United Network, and real quick, I want to give a shout out to my new producer, Adrian Hart, a wonderful woman behind the camera making me look good. But everybody that tunes into my show, help me out. Like, as soon as I post that you're coming on, all your followers and friends start sending me questions to ask you and things like that. So most everybody tuning in right now, nobody tunes in for me. They tune in for my guests. So that's what the audience is here. So you should feel nothing but love, because everybody that follows you loves you and respects you. So no, you've got like 15 books out now. They're all bestsellers. They're all great.
21.
You got 21 books out?
Yes.
Oh my God.
You're behind a little bit. Yeah.
I'm still recuperating from writing my one little book. I don't know how you do it. You are so talented. Well, you know what? It would be beyond belief for me if I just met you, but knowing you as I do, we've known each other for a while. I'm not surprised at all. I just have to update my notes, but I'm not surprised at all, because you're just so creative. Good for you. Let's get some of the most important things out of the way first. How are you doing during this last year? We're in a new year, but I know there's gonna be some ugliness ahead of us. I don't want to put a downer on the show, but everybody's got to stay strong. We're all in it together. Continue praying. But how are you doing during this whole pandemic lockdown? ugly illnesses floating around and all that. How are you and your family?
I'm doing okay. I'm hanging in there. Being careful. I'm one of those cautious, maybe paranoid people that really abides by all the guidelines. So, and I haven't gotten sick yet, but my mother and her husband did get COVID and terrified me, but they both made it through okay. So, hoping that I don't have to contend with any more family or friends getting the virus because you never know how you're going to get it.
I talk to people every day that it runs the gamut. Some people think this is all fake. I'm here to tell you, those are very few people that say that to me. Most everybody else has either gotten sick that I know, or know somebody that has gotten sick, and most people I know somebody has passed away from
Right.
at all ages, youngsters, people my age, people older. So, and just, we're already down. Why keep kicking us? Now you hear about the more contagious UK strain and the even more contagious South African strain. It's really scary. Now they talk about the amount of the vaccine they give you is too much, so they're going to eyeball and only pull half out and save the other half for somebody else. They don't even know if the vaccines that are out now are going to be good for the new strains. Oh, it's just one thing after another. So you can imagine I'm in constant prayer for um, God to continue to lay his hands on us and help us through this. And I believe there's a lot of malevolence behind this too. So we've got to take care of that. But you look beautiful today. I'm glad you haven't gotten sick and you're doing well. Let me, before I start getting hate mail from your followers, let me get to some of your questions here from some of your fans. How was your Christmas? Was Santa good to you?
Yeah, it was an unusual Christmas. Really didn't do a whole lot. I did get to see my mom and her husband, and then I went to see my dad and my stepmom. But pretty quiet, just trying to stay safe, but good, thank you.
Good for you. Did you get to see the Christmas star?
I did. Yes, I walked outside and looked at it. Yep.
Uh, I loved it. I walk outside my house, turn around and look at my house, and I'm staring in the southwest direction, and the star was right over my home, and I just got it was very emotional for me. I found it very cool that I know that every 20 years or so it appears, but it hasn't been that lined up and this close to the Earth in 800 years, I think.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
found that interesting that it appeared on Christmas week when we are going through what we're all going through. So I thought that was very special. How about New Year's? How was your New Year's?
Very uneventful. I sat on
Yeah,
my couch and watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy. That was my New Year's Eve.
that is so cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, it, I'm at that age now where I cry over everything, and I remember Sharon and I did that same thing. We waited, didn't go to the theater. We waited till they all came out on DVD, and one day we did the killer marathon and watched them all.
Mhm.
I'm crying like a baby at the end when Frodo's saying bye to all his friends and stuff. So, um, uh, you know, it is what it is. That's why we don't go to theaters because I embarrass Sharon. I'll cry at everything. But that's very, very cool. Yeah. Do you have any superstitions, traditions, resolutions you want to share with us for New Year's?
I really don't. I just try to always be a good person and always try my hardest at everything I do. And I don't need to reinforce that at the beginning of the year. Yeah, I'd like to lose weight, but that's a constant thing. Try to stay healthy and get more exercise. So no, not really. I'm not. I'm definitely into the paranormal, but I'm not superstitious.
Very, very cool. Very, very cool. And you don't need to lose weight. Um, I Sharon and I, we're not very superstitious either, but I found myself being superstitious this New Year's Eve. I did if somebody sent me a list of things to do, and I did them all. I mopped with ice and threw the ice out. I ate my 12 grapes. I popped the champagne bottle at midnight. It was non-alcoholic, and Sharon and I each had a sip out of each one of our glasses, and then we dumped the rest. Make sure I had money in my hand and a green necklace on, and that's supposed to not necessarily make you rich, but make you not financially be in need in the year to come. Whether that works or not, we'll see. Um, a lot of people eat black-eyed peas on New Year's Day. My
Mhm.
mother was Brazilian, may she rest in peace, and she always had us eat black beans over rice. It didn't matter what the dish was or what else we had on the plate, but on the plate somewhere had to be a portion of black beans over rice. So we made sure we had that, and there you go. So uh, superstitions and traditions, they find a way to make their way in. I just figured I wasn't taking any chances this year, and I went for it. But yeah, it was quiet. It was very quiet. As soon as the midnight, we were in bed, and then all of a sudden, my neighborhood starts going crazy with the fireworks. So we were up again, dogs going ballistic. Um, but thank God that only lasted for a couple hours, so we were able to still salvage a relatively peaceful evening. Um, oh, this is a great question from one of your followers. They want to know. Some people say I did not know that Joni was a gifted medium. People want to know about those gifts. They know you as the author. They know you have a very famous tour group called Haunted New Harmony. Um, you're an elite parahunter. You've been on TV, many radio shows, film, yada, yada, yada. What about your gifts as a medium? And how did that come? How did you come to realize that? And how does that help or hinder or enhance uh, Joni Mayhan and everything she does?
Well, I was born a sensitive, so I'm clairaudient, which means I hear tones similar to ear ringing. Sometimes it's more like static, and I can differentiate between male and female, good and bad, through hearing the tone. But I really ran for my abilities most of my life because it scared me, and I didn't have a support system of people who could explain to me what was going on and offer me help or even acknowledgement. So I was in my 40s before I really finally embraced it instead of running from it and started working with it. And I had a really good friend named Sandy McLeod, who I'm still very good friends with. And she was also going through this at the same time. So we used each other for validation. And she was feeling them differently than me. I was hearing them, but she was feeling like her scalp would crawl. And so we started working together. And I was able to say, I think it's a female, judging by the sound I'm hearing. And she says, well, females only make the left side of my head tingle. So, so we were able to, I don't know, we were really able to work together and hone our abilities. And then, as typical with this kind of thing, the more you work with it, the stronger it gets. It's like a muscle. And so that was my gateway. Now I can tune into that sound and I start getting mind pictures and information. So my mind pictures are often just a still snapshot of the person who's trying to get in contact with me. And sometimes it leads me to more information. So I'll try to sketch who I see and then try to ask people, do you know who this is, that are surrounded by the case that I happen to be working on? And sometimes it does help. Sometimes it's just a mystery to me. But, to say it enhances what I do, it actually spawned what I do. I don't know that I would have ever gotten into the paranormal had I not had these abilities. I was kind of thrust into it, not given much of a chance. So, it is what it is. And I just work with what I have. I always have a ghost in residence in the house. I think during our sound check, you heard a growl come across the speaker. So it's not surprising that there's something here wanting to talk. It's pretty constant for me. One of my books is called Ghost Magnet, and that's very true. I am a ghost magnet.
Well, I don't know if you believe this or not, but your gift is a gift from God. And I am a firm believer that those types of gifts, when realized, rather than turn them off or run from them, if you embrace them and then nurture them, I believe that makes the spiritual world very happy. Because there's a reason why you and we all have the gift, but some people more so than others, and then some people realize they have it, but it scares them and they don't want to nurture it, and they turn it off and they run from it. But you've done well with it. You were meant to nurture yours and work with it and do what you do. So that's very, very cool. Yeah, Ghost Magnet. My wife's one of those. I know how that is, and we do have a lot in common. You know, we both live in homes that spirit's always present, and like you said, it is what it is. And it was interesting you mentioned the vibration thing. When it's just ghosts, I feel the same things that most people feel. I do see them from time to time, but now the extremely low level vibrational malevolent entities, and God forbid, the demonic, that always starts in my right ear usually, and it feels, and then there's feeling there too, not just sound, but it feels as though a bumblebee has gone in my ear and then starts buzzing. And then that buzzing, if it's not so bad that I get disoriented, and usually if I do get disoriented, a little nausea comes, and I have to kind of get out of that area because sometimes it hits fast. But if that doesn't occur and I get past the vibration part, then it's like somebody standing right next to me talking in my ear, and the types of things they say to me can be horrifyingly a matter of fact, the way they speak to you. And usually they will be telling me things they're going to do to Sharon if we don't leave the property, which is scary because they're paranormal gangsters, for lack of a better term, and they go after what you love. So that's scary, but that's very interesting that you talk about the vibration part. And I've gotten the head tingling too, but sometimes that happens like right after. You've heard people walking into what feels like spider webs and they're not there, and you go brushing them off your face, and people say, well, that's the spirit you walked into. What's your take on the spider web theory, and that you've walked into spirit or maybe ectoplasm that you can or can't see, and then some of that tingling comes after that? What is your professional opinion on the spider webbing theory?
Well, it kind of goes into my newest book, When Ghosts Are Near, because everybody feels ghosts and spirits differently. There's some people might have similarities between them, but it's just the way you're entitled to feel them. Like for me, I can hear them, and I really believe I'm hearing the sound they make as they enter into my area. My friend Sandy, when she feels the head tingling, and there's quite a few people in my book that also feel that, it's clairsentience. That's just how their body reacts to ghosts. Walking through the spider webs, I think that's how you feel them as well. That's also a clairsentient ability. And it's just, some people feel cold chills, some people get a tightening in their gut, some people get headaches. It runs the gambit, but you kind of have to maneuver through it and figure out, what does this mean beyond the fact that there's a ghost here? How do I know what ghost and what they want? And that's where you really need to get into your research to identify, what that means to you.
Well said. I've got another. I'm going to put your feet to the fire on this topic too. You go into a group, like I'm thinking back to times where I had a team, and then I stopped having a team and I started working darker cases because I got worried about people, and I didn't want to expose people to things that might hurt them. So then it ended up whittling down to now it's just my wife and I, and sometimes I try and sneak out and work cases by myself, which drives her crazy because she's very stubborn. She's a survivor of extreme demonic attack, but she still wants to go out there and do the cases. But I go in with groups, and there may be some people that aren't sensitive at all, psychic, medium, what have you, and maybe they were and they didn't know it. But now you have spirits that will make that person smell something or hear something or feel something. And they can be right next to everybody else in the group, and nobody else smells, feels, or hears what that person is. And that person's not gifted. Do you think that it's a case of the person was gifted and we didn't know it? Or do you think the spirit is actually targeting that person for some particular reason and only allowing them to feel them and hear them?
It could be either, really. It's hard to differentiate. That person being in that paranormal situation, knowing that that smell would not be in the place where they were, really makes it stand out. That if they went back and really thought about it, have they ever smelled cigarette smoke in a place where they're pretty sure nobody's smoking? You can always find some excuse. Well, maybe somebody's walking by, or, maybe I'm imagining it. We did actually have an occurrence on one of our Haunted New Harmony investigations where everybody in that group smelled something. And my mother happened to be present, which was really cool because, she didn't believe in ghosts when I was a little kid seeing things. And now she does because she's had some experiences that I've provided her with. But we were at a very old house investigating up on the second floor. And all of a sudden, the group smelled baking bread. And it was so strong, it was like there was a bread oven in the room and bread was baking. And everybody in the group smelled it. They all said, I said, what do you guys smell? And they're like, bread baking. And the windows were closed. This is a house that's on a street with no other homes on it that could have had baking bread smell. And then it went away just as quick as it came in. It went away. And I think they were just reaching out and giving us more of a positive experience, showing us that the paranormal isn't always scary. Sometimes it's just a memory. Maybe the person there baked a lot of bread and that was something they wanted to tell us about. So it was kind of cool.
Do you buy into the residual theory? I'm on the fence with the residual theory. I've debunked a couple of them, and they prove to be actual intelligent haunts. But do you buy into the theory behind the residual haunts?
I think residual hauntings go much deeper than just what we project when you talk about, if a woman always walked up the staircase at 3 a.m., you'll hear footsteps on that staircase. And maybe some of that could be accurate, but every case that I've come into, just like you, that they've said has been residual haunting, has been an intelligent haunting that's actually just reacting and interacting with the people that live there. So I'm kind of on the fence with it too. I do believe there's residual energy located in places, and I think that pulls in other ghosts because that energy is just irresistible to them.
Absolutely. Gosh, I wish I could. You're on the list for when we get this, whatever it is you want to call it, we get out from under it, and people are able to start traveling again. When my two current mastiffs that I own go to heaven, and I can talk Sharon into retiring, I would love to come out there and take your haunted tour. I've heard so many phenomenal things about it. Very, very cool. Let me see what else somebody wants to know about you. Oh, and I asked you this. Oh, that's funny. I asked you this before the show started. Do you still live in a haunted home? And it's funny because people like you and I, we're haunted.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about, I read something, and I probably was in your bio, that when you wished you could put on the outside of your front door a do not disturb sign for ghosts. And you talked about a woman just barging into your home and walking up to you in your kitchen, I believe it was, and yelling at you. Tell me about that. Could you hear her? And what was that all about?
And I don't even remember that specific one. That happens daily. I make houses haunted.
Yeah, I bet.
The minute I move in, there's going to be a ghost coming in. Right now, I think I have two. I think they're both female. They don't bother me too much, so I really don't have much interaction with them. the way I feel it is, it happens so frequently. If like once a year a ghost walked in and said, I need help, I'd be more than willing to help. But it's like there's a deli take a number ticket thing on my front door, and they're coming in, and one after the other. And it's almost like, imagine, just having random people walk in your door and standing right in front of you and screaming, I need help, or help me find this, or pass this message on. After a while, I don't care how nice you are and how good meaning you are, you're going to get tired of that, because you have your life to live too. Sometimes it comes at inopportune times, and sometimes it's just annoying because it happens so often. Sometimes they don't even want help. They want to pull energy from you, or they want to just pester you. And so, yeah, it gets old real quickly.
Oh my gosh, I can imagine. What would you think would be, if you could come up with some type of something that would act like a do not disturb sign for spirit? What could you imagine that would even be? Or is it all psychically connected, a psychic thing that you could use that gift to turn that off and act like the do not disturb sign?
Well, I've actually written 2 books on paranormal protection, so I'm very well versed in it. And what works for most people does not work for me. But currently, right now, I have a spiritual boundary around my house. And Michael Robichaud, my shaman friend, who helps keep me protected, guided me through how to do that. And using prayer and holy water and sea salt, I go around and kind of fortify my boundary. And I do use my own abilities as well to create kind of a bubble around my house. So nothing nasty has come in, well, in like the last 3 weeks. But I did have a period of about a week and a half where I had one really awful, very dark, very powerful entity after another come in. And Michael was there for me. He works remotely, and he removed each one of them. And each one of them wanted to kill me. They were really dark and really scary. And it was very sudden. And, he thinks somebody sent them or somebody did something. So he did some kind of spiritual protection for me. And I haven't had that happen since. But it was pretty, I don't want to say terrifying, because this stuff doesn't really scare me anymore. I've been through so many. It was unnerving and maybe a little concerning, because some of these had abilities where they were able to actually move stuff and show up in doorways and just, startle you. You're not expecting to see a dark shadow in a place you don't normally see dark shadows. And I don't know. It was just not fun. So I'm glad that's over.
Oh my gosh. If that ever happens to you again, reach out to me too.
Okay.
I'll join arms with Michael, and we'll help you fight that. That is scary. And what's even scarier about it is you're such a good person. Let's say it was somebody that slapped on some, let's just, for lack of a better term, a curse on you, or sent those to your way. A legitimate, I'm going to get hate mail, but a legitimate witch that has taken the path, the darker of the 2 paths, and is perverting her gifts and her talents to do bad things like that. I can't imagine anybody doing that to you, of all people. But that is very scary. So I'm glad you had Michael, and I know Michael. I'm glad you had Michael there to help you with it. That's very scary. And can you imagine anyone that in your past paranormal life that you've crossed paths with that might be capable of doing something like that to you?
No, I can't. And I try to be a good person. Michael said it was generated out of jealousy, which, I don't feel like there's anything I have that anybody should be jealous of. Or everything I have and have done has been because of hard work. Nobody handed me anything. I've scratched and clawed my way to where I am. But he did say that his guides took away that person's power, so they won't be able to do it again. And I don't know. I think recent events as well. You start to realize people are capable of things that you didn't think they were capable of. There's some people just have a hatred deep inside of them that comes out at inopportune times. And I just happened to be the target of one of those. So I'm thankful I had Michael, and my friends were there to help me. So yeah,
Was he able to determine with his gifts who that person was, or and if he did, you don't have to say it, but
if he did, he didn't tell me. He said,
interesting, yeah.
yeah. I don't think he wanted me to know, or I don't think his guides wanted him to know because he might have told me. So, yeah, no, I mean, it's always something. Never a dull moment in my world. That was just another
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Well, I know we still have some time left, but before the show is ending, and I rudely forget to do this, I want to make sure I get all the really important stuff out for people to know how to get a hold of you. You've got a wonderful website, and people can type in two different things and get the same website, either JONIMAYHAN.com, one word.com, or hauntednewharmony.com. Haunted New Harmony, one word.com. If you type in either one of those addresses, you'll get the same website. It's a wonderful website. You have a wonderful Facebook page, Haunted New Harmony. If any of you out there watching, well, if you're watching, you are on Facebook. Check that page out. You have an even more awesomer, if that's a real word, Joni Mayhan /author Facebook page, which is very, very cool. And I want to know about the new book, Ghosts Are Near. If I was a more talented interviewer, I would ask you something different that means this, but what was the inspiration for that book? Because 21 books now, and I know you're very talented. You don't just spit things out. And you can tell that when you read your work that I mean, you take your work seriously, and you're a very talented author. So what did you want to accomplish and give people when they buy your latest book?
Well, I like to share my paranormal experiences, and when I learn something, I like to pass it along because it does me no good if it doesn't help other people. It's just how I am. So I really started talking to other people and learning that everybody feels the paranormal different. And I think it really started I was at a Paracon, and I met Elizabeth Saint from Ghosts of Shepherdstown. And I was really impressed that show had a sensitive on there instead of either nothing or a full-blown paranormal psychic medium. And so I asked her, I said, how do you feel ghosts? And she said, well, she had to think about it. She goes, I kind of feel their emotion. And so I started walking around and talking to other people. And just over the course of the next 2 years after that, asking people, how do you feel ghosts? And really found out that people that are gifted feel them different ways. And it was a question that some people had a hard time answering. They're like, I just know. And so I kind of divided it into sections of what kind of hauntings or how they feel the haunting. And it could be everything from what we talked about, smell or sound or touch, or just simply knowing. Some people have dreams. Other people are really gifted photographers. They catch ghosts in pictures where I could be standing side by side with them and I wouldn't catch anything. So everybody has their own specialty. And I just really went through and collected a lot of stories from people and got some really cool paranormal encounters in the meantime. So what I did was I asked 100 people, how do you feel ghosts? How do you know when a ghost is near? And what is your most profound experience? So it's not all scariness. Some of it is scary, some it's terrifying, but some of it's just interesting. Like one woman would always feel like somebody was watching her, and she finally would turn around and nobody would be there. And then one time she felt a hand on her shoulder. So her doorway to knowing when there was a ghost was near was that sensation of being watched. And everybody has their own gift, so it's kind of cool.
That's awesome. That is very awesome. Don't stop doing what you're doing. I can't believe you've got 21 books out. I thought I would do something positive with being locked in, going through this pandemic, and maybe write another book or a couple of nice, beefy new chapters to add to like maybe an author's revised edition of the one I have out now. But it was so hard for me, and I'm not alone. I talked to a lot of people that have written one, maybe two books, and they agree that for some people it is very, very hard. Luckily, like I said, it was inspired by spirit and divine intervention. So those things helped me actually. I feel bad even taking credit for having written a book because I feel like it was more. I got more help from the other side to write it than.
I do that too. I definitely, especially when I'm writing fiction, which I love. I have 7 fiction books in the middle of all those 21 books. And my paranormal fiction, I feel like as I'm writing it, I'm getting information. I'm getting a download as I'm writing. Because sometimes I'll write, well, and it happens with my nonfiction too. I'll get words that'll come to me and I don't even know what they are. And I'll type it and I'm like, okay, that works. And I've got a ghost behind me. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, you know what? That looks like one of my cats. Maybe my cat is astral projected there.
Maybe so. That's my Rosie. But yeah, I feel like I definitely have somebody helping me when I write. And when the words come to me, they just flow through. And half the time, most of what I write the first time ends up what's printed in the book. It'll go through some editing for punctuation and grammar, but my words are pretty much what I write the first time. So I trust that inspiration and that guidance. And I don't know who helps me, if it's my spirit guides or an ancestor or God himself. Somebody is helping me, and I'm grateful for it. I feel like it's what I'm meant to do.
You were gonna, when you finally get to heaven, you were gonna owe them a lot of overtime pay. That's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
But it's worked out so well for you. Having said that, you mentioned meeting someone from that show. This last year especially, I can't remember another time where in one season, like the atomic bomb of paranormal reality TV shows was dropped on mankind, and we had a ton of them. So much so, I mean, you couldn't keep them straight. You had to pick one or two that looked halfway interesting enough to give a shot and watch a couple of episodes. Many of them, just too many of them to watch all of them. I like to give everybody during my show a chance to rant, and I'll tell you why. Because nobody is going to be mean with their rant. It's going to be what constructive criticism, if you will. And I know that's what you're all about too. Anything you want to say in the form of a rant about all these TV shows? I don't even watch them anymore. And how many of them came out last year, and what that's all about, and do you watch them, and how do you feel about them?
Well, I'll be honest, I really don't watch them. Every once in a while I will if one of my friends is on it. But I think overall, if they're respectful, I think that's really important to me. I hate to see provocation. And I also hate to see fabrication. In my younger years, we would follow around one of the big TV shows that filmed in New England a lot. And we would go to some of the locations that they filmed at, and we would debunk them. And they were known for debunking, which was kind of funny. One of them, there was a door in a hotel that mysteriously closed on them. And when we got there, that door is hinged to close. So, I don't like it when they make stuff up because it makes it harder for the rest of us that are truthful. And same thing goes with paranormal books. I've read some books and written some books and people have said that's not scary. And it's like, well, that's because you're comparing that to a book that's fabricated or exaggerated. And I will never do that. Everything you read in my books is 100% honest and accurate. I think once we get into lying just for money, then we're selling our souls.
It's so funny that you bring that up because I have a good friend who lived in a famously haunted um, house, so much so that he was approached by a couple of different television shows to film there. And both different production companies, when it came down to uh, signing on the dotted line and reading the fine print of the contract, clearly it stated in there that you give permission for us to, like you say, fabricate or fake something.
Mm-hmm.
And both times my friend didn't sign. He said, I'm so not about that. Uh, it just I can't do it. So it didn't happen. These shows didn't get filmed at his place, but that's what you almost have to do. It takes people like that in the paranormal community with true integrity um, to um, to do that, and I take my hat off to him for that. It's kind of funny. Somebody posted a comment, "Don't mention," and I'm not going to mention it. He asked not to mention the guy's name. I'm not going to mention it, but he lives here in Las Vegas, where I live in, and I could just feel the vibe from that statement as to why not to mention his name, and so I won't. But I'm with you. I just after a while, enough's enough, and I watch things, and I just in the very beginning, I'm going back maybe 15 years or so. A couple of shows came out, and in the very beginning, they were well done, and they were kind of new, and they made what you and I do cool again. Because even then, I was having people that knew me thought I was a crazy man, but it kind of made us what we do cool. And now it's almost come full circle, and it's like now people are kind of a little hesitant to trust what you say
Mm-hmm.
and what you present to them as far as evidence and what your opinion is and for their haunting or what have you. So yeah, well said. I don't watch them anymore either, but yeah, you're right. It is what it is. Let me see what else one of your friends wants to know. Okay, describe your style of ghost hunting. My wife and I, besides being old, we are old school. My wife, I call her my human dowsing rods. She takes one of those throwaway cameras that you buy, 35 millimeter throwaway camera from the drugstore. We after she does the whole roll, we take it in and we have it developed on disc, so I can put them in the computer and hard copy because I like to see the pictures in my hand, and I make a photo album out of them if they're worth saving. And I still take a little small handheld voiceover recorder that takes the little cassette decks. I do have an EMF detector, and I do have a nice full spectrum high def camera that I use. But otherwise than that, we're pretty old school. How would you describe your style, and do you use any of the new stuff?
Well, it depends on what I'm doing. If someone has called me in and asked me to find out what's going on in their house, typically it'll be me and one or two other psychic mediums, and we'll go in and we'll do a psychic sweep and just see what there is to feel. We just had one recently during the middle of all this. It was a friend of the family, so he left the house and left us there, and there were just two of us that went in. And we used dowsing rods and the spirit box and, of course, the voice recorder. And we really painted a very comprehensive picture. And the EVPs that we got and the responses we got on dowsing rods really backed up what we were both feeling, the impressions we were getting. The guy, actually, the ghost, and one of the ghosts that was there were four of them, told me that I went to high school with him, that he knew me in life. And that's why I got drawn into this case, because as soon as a friend of the family bought the house, it became haunted. It wasn't haunted before. Nobody had ever had any experiences there, but they became very active as soon as this other person that knows me bought the house. And we were able to really dig deep. He had a message that he wanted to pass on. And I said, what is your message? And he said very clearly on the spirit box, I didn't do it. And if I were trying to, if I were thinking or trying to fabricate something, I would have said something like, tell my wife I love her, or something like that, or the will's in the, in the wall, or something like that. But the fact that he said, I didn't do it, really brought to mind some, important issues. So we're still investigating that. And we're going to go to the courthouse and look up former homeowners. During COVID, it's a little hard to do some of the research that we would normally have already done. But to answer your question, I'm a little bit of both. Now, when I'm leading a group, we do haunted New Harmony investigations. I bring EMF detectors, cameras, but then we also do dowsing rods and pendulums. I like to teach them some more old school methods. So it really runs the gambit. I have a friend with an SLS camera, which I love watching, but I don't like to go into an investigation encumbered with too much equipment. And I think we've all been on that investigation with that person that has a suitcase full of stuff and they're always fumbling with it. It really takes away from the investigation. So I just like to choose a few things in advance and stick with those.
Very, very cool. I have had some neat things happen recently. I got to the point where I started to think that maybe I'm just a scary person to some people, and that's why more people don't reach out to me. But lately I've had some of the new generation, some of these real young teams reach out to me just to want to meet me, pick my brain, talk shop, if you will. And I found that very, very cool. For the new generation coming up, the young teams that have passion, that aren't just doing this as a hobby because they think they're going to be on the next big TV show or become famous, but the ones that truly have passion for investigating the paranormal, do you have any big do's or any big don'ts for the next generation?
Oh, definitely. The very first thing that I recommend is before you start investigating, especially if you're sensitive, is to learn everything you can about paranormal protection and find something that works for you. What works for one person is not going to work for somebody else. So really go through and find something that resonates with you and utilize it. Never provoke. I've been on investigations where people say you can use our energy to manifest. And it's like, you never want to do that, because what you're doing is inviting them into your aura, and your aura is your bubble around you that keeps you protected. And once you invite them in to touch you or use your energy, you might as well just be inviting them to come home with you. And that's another thing to never do, because you get that ghost in your house and it may seem like a nice little girl at the investigation and turn out to be something completely different once it gets home. So I always say, really be cautious when you're investigating. I'm not saying be fearful, but be confident, but be cautious and be respectful.
Absolutely. Good advice. Stephen wants to know who keeps talking in the background kind of statically. I have not heard that, although, Stephen, I have occasionally glanced up to see if my dream catcher, which is right here, has moved, and it's been very quiet today during the show. It's this way, but it hasn't done this and rotated around or swung. I don't hear it here in my home. It's probably coming from Joni's home because, like I said, she is a legitimate ghost magnet, and it might just be someone trying to become a part of the show. But that was great advice for the next generation, Joni. I know what I want to bring up. I'm thinking of this one story. This gentleman calls me, says that I just started ghost hunting. I think it's really cool. And I got a team and we go places and we're going to find ghosts, yada, yada, yada. I didn't judge or say anything. He goes, I've had the ghost of a former wife from a previous life that has been attached to me ever since I was a young child. And she's still here with me today. I took her to this haunted location that's filled with the ghosts of miners and cowboys and whatever else is there. And she's a little bit of a flirt, and she flirted with one of them and asked one of these spirits to come back home with us. He blamed her, not him. Says, now the spirit's here in my home, and it's attacking me because it's jealous and wants me out of the picture. Can you come to my house and get rid of the man ghost, but not the ghost of my former wife? Well, long story short, I didn't go because I said it doesn't work that way. They both got to go. What do you think about these people that have these supposed love affairs, men and women, love affairs with these ghosts and want to marry them and that type of thing? What do you think of all of that craziness?
Without offending other people, which I don't even know if I'm capable of answering that without offending somebody. But the paranormal world definitely draws in people from all walks of life. And it also draws in people that have some mental illness. So I think anytime that you start hearing stories that are way beyond the realm of believability, you have to make sure that the source is reliable. And with that said, if the source is reliable and they're still, you think they're wanting to marry a ghost or have a ghost there, I don't ever recommend it because, you don't really know who you're talking to. You may think but they can be deceptive. And, the living and the dead really were not meant to live together.
What you just said gave me goosebumps because you were just so spot on with your beautiful statement there. I couldn't have said it better myself. Oh my gosh, my least favorite time of the show has come, and that's the end of it. The hour went by so fast. I could sit and chat with you for another hour easily, but I want to take this opportunity. I love you. I respect you. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're one of the extreme bright lights, like a lighthouse in the darkness of the paranormal community, and you contribute so much. So thank you so very much for spending an hour out of your busy late Friday afternoon there in Indiana where you're at. I really appreciate it. Did you have fun? Will you come back?
Of course, anytime.
Thank you so much. Give all your animals a loving rub for me. Say hi to all the ghosts. You take care. Have a great evening, and I'll be in touch with you, okay?
Awesome. Thank you for having me on. It was a pleasure.
My pleasure. Good night, Joni.
Good night.
Brothers and sisters, doesn't get any better than that. JONI MAYHAN. Buy her books. Check out her website. If you're in the New Harmony area, take her a ghost tour. I heard it rocks. I want to do another quick shout out to my producer again, Adrian Hart, a.k.a. the Ghost Granny, Desert Heart Paranormal, and one of the owners, if not the owner, of Paranormal United Network. Thank you to them, simulcasting my show and producing my show and all the great work they do. I will be here next Friday again with another new episode of the Paranormal Ministry. My guest is going to be, guys, you can thank me later, but don't miss this episode. The one and only, live from Hawaii, Lapaka Kapanui, the ghost guy from the islands. He is awesome and always comes with his fair share of haunted spirits that hang around him in his home there. And when he comes and does my show, he's a beautiful man, and you guys are going to love him. So Robert Kapanui, Lapaka Kapanui, next Friday. Guys, I don't have a show without all of you. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for tuning in. You all have a blessed week. Stay blessed. Most importantly, stop the anger. Stop the violence. Anger is just a punishment that we put on ourselves for somebody else's mistake. Work on turning the other cheek. Work on at least forgiving. Maybe not necessarily forgetting, but at least forgiving. We're all in this together. The power of prayer is very strong. I keep praying for all of us. We're going to come through this. So have a very blessed week, guys. I'll see you all next week. On that note, good night, Harold. Rest in peace. Good night, Ernie. Good night, Bill. Good night, Dan. God bless everyone.